Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Sorry, we had feedback in the room. Just a second. We're double checking. Good? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Western Municipal Water District's regular board meeting for July the 7th. Thank you so much for being here. I hope everybody had a wonderful 4th of July holiday. At this time, we'll go ahead and call the roll, please. Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Thank you. In an effort to protect public health and prevent the spread of COVID-19, and in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20, the public may view this board meeting online or virtually, or may also attend in person. This meeting is live streamed online at WMWD.com. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the district or any item on the agenda may make comments virtually or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. July 6, 2021 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom virtual meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature, and we will call on you individually. You can access the raise hand feature by opening the participant list and clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of the list. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself. If there is more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. However, the presiding officer reserves the right to reduce the amount of time you will be allowed to speak to ensure that all members of the public have an opportunity to provide their comment. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Rizvi.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Director Gardner.
I'm present.
Good morning. Director Torres.
Here.
Good morning. President Denstedt.
I am present. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Good
Appreciate
morning.
that.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, folks, we'll go ahead and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and it is, again, a recorded pledge by one of our employees, a tradition I hope to continue to carry forward. I think it's a wonderful touch. Thank you so much.
I'm Brittany Spry. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, I am going to go off script for just a second, a very hot second, and I appreciate the board's indulgence on this. Ms. Judd, could you please stand up? Would you come forward, please? Good morning. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
I understand it's your birthday today.
It is my birthday today.
On behalf of the board,
Happy
we'd like to wish
birthday.
you a happy birthday.
Thank you very much. It's my very last birthday that I'll have, I promise.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your indulgence on that very much. I think it's such a nice thing that we actually get to meet in person. We actually get to look her in the face, and we actually get to do our very first birthday greeting, which is something we've truly missed, to have interaction with everybody in our board. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We certainly do appreciate your attendance in person. We are excited to be back on the dais, and we're hoping that this is now the turn to get out of the horrific mess that we've been in with this COVID-19 thing going on. I'm so over it. So thank you very much. All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and roll into public comment. And this is for any item that is not currently posted on our agenda for any member of the public who wishes to comment on anything under the jurisdiction of this agency. Madam Secretary, is there anyone who wishes to comment today under public comment?
Good morning, President Denstedt. I did receive 3 public comments yesterday prior to the 4:30 p.m. deadline on July 6th. Those comments were provided to the board members and will be made available to the public should they wish to see those, and they can request those at boardsecretary@WMWD.com. And I currently have Tom Evans. Mr. Evans, would you like to speak?
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Tom Evans, resident of Riverside and in Division 2. I'm calling regarding director's compensation. It used to be that you would have directors request for compensation for all meetings they attended every month on the agenda and approved on the consent calendar. I haven't seen that for the last several months. And I believe the public has a right to know where all the directors are going and what meetings they're attended and are compensated for. I'm calling specifically regarding a letter I sent to Director Torres on June 28th that she's not responded to. So I'll ask it in public. She's unique in that since she works for a public agency, is paid by taxpayers' funds. I request that the board secretary provide my letter and attachment to the other board members. It's on your website, web server, or email server. Through a public records request, I obtained the payroll records for Director Torres from January of 2020 through 2021 year to date on the same dates that she was paid by Western Municipal Water District as a director. Those records indicate that generally on board meeting dates, she split her time between worked and leave time. Presumably the leave time was when she was in a board meeting, which is an appropriate differentiation. However, there are 50 occasions during that same time period where she was paid 100% of the day on days when she was also compensated for attending generally committee meetings. I believe that it would be unethical for her at a minimum to be accepting pay for two different taxpayer groups for the same time. And that I don't understand why she's paid 100% for those days when she was being compensated for Western committee meetings. Maybe she shifted her hours, so she started at noon or something. But I think we deserve to know how that takes place and why there's such a dramatic difference between those days and the days when the actual board meetings occur. As I say, it's not a de minimis, it's 50, like 50 days when this occurred. So you can read the payroll records for yourself. You can read the memo I sent to Director Torres, but I think this deserves to be agendized and discussed at a future meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. I now see Demi, NPCA.
Yeah, hi, good morning, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to provide public comment today. My name is Demi Espinosa, and I'm the California Desert Program Manager with the National Parks Conservation Association. And if you're not familiar with NPCA, our mission is to protect and enhance America's national park system to present for future generations. And we do this work nationally, but we do this work locally. Like I mentioned, I work on the California Desert Program, which is here in the Inland Empire where I live. And I'm simply here today to talk a little bit about my work with water agencies across Southern California as we support sustainable, affordable water supply solutions and support meaningful engagement between agencies and local communities. And therefore, I'd like to recognize the efforts of those who are leading this work, who we've been partnering with, and that I'm simply here today to offer my thanks in particular to Director Gracie Torres, for her meaningful work to improve access and transparency, such as bringing live streaming to the district, advocating for a water community group, and looking out for vulnerable community members by stopping water shutoffs during COVID, which was absolutely important work to be doing. And voting against water increases, which we are definitely following that issue very closely. Her background as a chemist has helped the district identify water projects and jobs that could be located in the Inland Empire. And she's long respected protecting water sources sacred to Native American tribes, particularly here in the Inland Empire. And so it's, with great honor that I just wanted to offer my thanks for her continued partnership and leadership with MPCA as we work together on sustainable water solutions, particularly here in the desert. So I wanted to offer a thank you, and I invite all partnerships from other board members as well to work with us at MPCA. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I'll now recognize Erica Villalobos.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts. I currently live off Victoria Avenue, and as a working mother of 6 school-aged children, I had resigned myself to the idea that I don't have the time to be as involved in my local government as I once wished when I was younger. For a long time, I thought that these things were just out of reach for people and women like me. I want to express my gratitude for Madam Vice President Torres. When I first saw her campaigning on social media, I immediately saw myself represented. This board has long needed a woman of color that represents the interests of all her constituents, not just the ones that can afford to donate to her campaign. She campaigned on a promise to look out for the disenfranchised. She's done exactly that. She saw the need for more accessibility to these meetings even before the pandemic hit. Her resolution to stream board meetings brought this board out of the dark ages, off the lofty mountain, and back down to the people. I can't tell you how excited I was to be able to listen on board meetings from home, feeling like I was actually involved without having to sacrifice time away from my kids and family. The fact that I'm able to comment right now is something that I owe to Vice President Torres. Second, she was the first to rally behind the idea of not shutting off water services for those of us that struggled during the pandemic. That was me. That was my family, along with countless others. No one wants to skip out on their water bill. That's not something that excites us regular folks. But knowing that Vice President Torres had our backs and wouldn't let us go without, it made me feel like my vote was actually working for me and the people the way it should be. She votes against rate increases and is as transparent as they come. I have no doubt that this is due to her not being a career politician. Her science and water background are the reason so many of us voted for her, and she has earned our votes 100 times over with the efforts she puts into being our voice on this board. Normally, when it comes to politics, there's a certain characteristic, a stereotype that people see, and therefore apply that to all politicians. So people think that politics isn't built for them, or it isn't something that they should get involved in. But if they see somebody like themselves who's honest and says it is what it is, they feel they can relate to that. Vice President Torres tries to make politics more accessible to us, regular people. People are curious and want to get involved, more than you all give us credit for, but she gives us credit. We see her and think we can do it as well. It's empowering. It's a shame that the board refuses to take a vote on our wonderful idea of creating a community group to help educate members of the public, your constituents, on what it is you guys even do. The people want to be involved. We want to be involved. We want to make educated decision when it comes to who we put on this board, but it feels like those in charge are threatened by that. There's nothing scarier than an educated, involved constituent, I guess. Esteemed directors, the bottom line is don't forget who put you in office. Thank you, Madam Vice President Torres, for reminding me that my vote matters. I'm sorry I can't donate, but rest assured that my entire neighborhood stands 100% behind you. Thank you for not being a career politician. Thank you for representing the least of us, and keep doing the work.
Thank you. Nicole Slocum.
Good morning, Board of Directors. My name is Nicole Slocum, and I also came to talk about Director Gracie Torres. She's been huge for the community, and just watching her on social media and seeing the community outreach that she's done has been quite amazing. The fact that she's bringing food to the community on top of helping people be able to have access to their water still and not have issues with water shut off as well through the COVID situation was such a wonderful thing to see. It's very rare, especially in Riverside City, to see a person that's in politics be so involved with community. I grew up in Riverside, and I can tell you 100%, it wasn't until Gracie Torres and other people my age started to be involved in city council and in the community, where we actually saw community reach and see it be positive. I had no idea what you guys did until Gracie Torres actually got on the board of directors. To be honest, I had no idea what your guys' faces looked like, and I had no idea what it even meant to have a water board. She made this a very transparent thing for the community, and like others said before, she's just great to have on there as well. And having a chemist, a water chemist, be on a board for the water district is huge. I don't have much to say. Honestly, I'm extremely tired, but I wanted to make sure I could represent for this woman because she represents so much for us. That's all I have.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Alejandro Romero.
Yes, good afternoon, board members, general manager and staff from the Western Municipal Water District. My name is Alejandro Romero and I'm a resident of District 2 for the district. I wanted to come by and just not only introduce myself, but thank Ms. Gracie Torres, for coming by and being active in the community, introducing herself when she was campaigning for the district. My family and I were business owners, local business owners for small businesses here in Riverside County. And one of the things that we look at is overhead. Specifically during this last 18 months, overhead has been huge for not only our personal lives, but also our professional lives. Understanding what Gracie Torres has advocated for, which is a rate increase, is something that's near and dear to our hearts, specifically these last 18 months. I myself did not know who was on the water board, nor did I understand the meaning of the water district. But having to pay the large fees, and considering these last 18 months have been tough, I wanted to first of all thank that she's an advocate during these tough times, but as well as building a relationship with the community. So I want to first of all thank all the board members that are for disapproving the rate increase. I want to thank them for their community service, but I specifically want to thank Gracie Torres because she's active in our community. So just wanted to kind of give a shout out and let you know, look, we're small business owners. Every penny counts for us. And so, we're the bread and butter for not only the city of Riverside, the county of Riverside, and all the surrounding cities in the county, but, we're working, 18-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts, and every penny counts for us, specifically these last 18 months. So if there's anything you can do to really assist us, we'll really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public on the phone who wish to speak? I see no other members.
Thank you very much. That will conclude our public comment for today. I appreciate the comments from everyone who attended today. We'll go ahead and move on to our consent calendar this morning. Is there any member of the board who wishes to pull any item off of the consent calendar today? Okay. Madam Secretary, is there anyone indicated who wishes to comment on any item on our consent calendar today?
I see no requests to comment.
Okay. I would like, sorry if I spoke too late. I would like to pull item F for discussion.
5F?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any member in our audience today wishing to pull any item or speak on any item on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none.
Madam President, I would move approval of the consent calendar, but for item F.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gardner.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Director Risby. Madam Secretary, could we go ahead and call the roll vote for consent calendar? Minus F, of course.
Correct. Director Risby?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, go ahead and move on to 5F. Mr. Miller. Is there a question, Ms. Torres?
Was there a question?
No, just a brief overview of what it is. I think this is a big deal for the public to hear.
Melissa, would you like to come up and, she's our project manager for our grants. Melissa, give us a little background. Yes. Thank you.
Good morning, directors. So resolutions 3178 and 3179 are for 2 grant applications to the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation for the Department of Defense. It's for the Defense Community Infrastructure Program. We have 2 applications in. It's required to submit applications and get board approval before you submit your application. And this is, again, just an application for grant funding for 2 projects for our MARB service area. One, the sewer force main, and one for an intertie with Eastern Municipal Water District. Is there any further questions?
No, thank you so much. Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second. Okay, Madam Secretary, we could go ahead and call the vote for 5F.
Thank you. Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Denstedt?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to items to be added to our agenda today. Mr. Miller or Mr. Foray, anything to be added today?
No, nothing to add today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our action agenda today, folks. We'll go on to start with 7A. I understand we have Mr. Williams that's on the call today.
Yeah, we do, President Denstedt. This is, item 7A is for the approval of the refinancing of community facilities 88-1 and 99-1 outstanding bonds. Online, we have Anna Briones and Mike Williams. Anna, would you like to introduce Mike, please?
And can I go ahead and interrupt you for just 1 second? I am directly affected by 99-1, so I want to make sure, Mr. Foray, can you give me an opinion on my ability to be able to participate in this item?
Yes, Madam President, you're not impacted or directly impacted any different than any other property owner within the jurisdiction of this particular CFD. So as a result, there's a public general exception that allows one to vote or take action on this item, much like you would for any water or sewer rate adoption.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Miller, so sorry to interrupt.
Anna.
Thank you, Craig. Good morning, President Denstedt and members of the board. So to give a background on this agenda item, at the June 16, 2021 board meeting, staff has presented to the board that both outstanding bond issues for Community Facilities District 88-1 and CFD 99-1 could be refunded for savings by privately placing the bonds with a bank rather than a public sale of the bonds. Mr. Mike Williams, Western Municipal Advisor with Columbia Capital, also gave a presentation at that meeting regarding the refunding and bank solicitation process and the expected debt service savings. At that meeting, the board approved the bid from Signature Public Funding Corp. At the interest rate of 1.935% for refunding outstanding bonds of CFD 88-1 and 99-1. Today, the board is being asked to consider adoption of Resolution 3183, authorizing the issuance of CFD 88-1 Series 2021 Special Tax Refunding Bonds and 99-1 Series 2021 Special Tax Refunding Bonds, and the sale of these bonds at a private sale to Signature Public Funding Corp. The resolution also allows for the approval of various agreements with respect to the issuance of the bonds. The net present value savings for the refundings is approximately $114,000 for CFD 88-1 and $123,000 for CFD 99-1. The amounts represent a 9.18 savings of the total refunded bonds. Since the CFDs are separate legal entities, there is no financial or budget impact to Western. The savings will benefit the property owners who are subject to the special taxes placed on the county tax rolls. Staff will be notifying property owners of the savings. This concludes my summary. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And as mentioned, Mr. Mike Williams with Columbia Capital is also available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Williams, any comments that you'd like to share with us today?
No, thank you, Board President and board members. I'm just here to answer any questions. I think we had a pretty detailed review of the transaction last month. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Thank you very much. Questions from the board?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second, and I just wanted to make a comment. This is a wonderful opportunity for savings for our customers. It's not very often that we get to do something like this, but certainly it was a great environment for us to be able to achieve with the bond savings with the interest rates at their current position. So this was a very rare firestorm of perfection that took place, so we're able to do this savings in the long haul. So thank you very much to staff for your due diligence on getting this done. This is a good news story for sure. So with that, and no other questions or comments?
Not a question as on the item, but I just wanted to make sure that there is no public comment before we vote.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Gardner. And is there anyone who wishes to comment on this item?
I see no requests to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Denstedt?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our item 7B for a public hearing.
All right. Item 7B is to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed adoption of Resolution 3180, setting fiscal year 21-22 water and sewer availability charges for the Marietta service area, and upon completion of the hearing, consider adoption of Resolution 3180. President Denstedt, I will turn it back to you to open up the public hearing.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Frey, if you could go ahead and do your comment on my ability to be able to participate on this as well, because I am in the Marietta division and this will also affect me.
Sure thing, Madam President. This item has to do with placing current charges on the tax roll to be collected. It is not a matter of adopting or increasing or doing anything else with these particular charges. A yes vote would simply proceed to actually get those collected for the year, and a no vote would say not to collect them, which would then result in the need to raise rates elsewhere. So yes, you may vote on this matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frey. Okay, I'll go ahead. At this time, is the place set for the public hearing regarding the collection of fiscal year 21-22 water and sewer availability charges for properties within the Western Marietta service area?
Notice of the hearing was for proposed collection of water and sewer availability charges on the county tax roll has been properly given. I have proof of publication which shows that the notice was published in the Press Enterprise, a newspaper of general circulation in Riverside County, on June 16th and June 23rd of 2021.
The documents are ordered, received, and filed.
The board is being asked to adopt the proposed water and sewer availability charges listed in Resolution 3180. The charge is equal to $21 per acre, with fractions of an acre rounded up to the nearest whole acre, for both water and sewer, for a combined total of $42 per acre. The amount of the charges has remained unchanged since fiscal year 2002-2003. Water and sewer charges billed monthly to customers, along with availability charges, are used to provide the necessary revenue to pay for operating and maintaining the water and sewer systems in the Marietta service area. Assessing the availability charge on all parcels promotes cost sharing between existing customers and unconnected property owners, all of whom benefit from the region having water and sewer service available. It also adheres to the standard of cost causation, where Western, as the utility service provider, has incurred significant capital investment and ongoing maintenance costs in order to provide service to both existing and future customers. By collecting availability charges on the tax rolls as operating revenue, approximately $262,000 of the system operating expenses are paid for that otherwise would need to be offset in higher water and sewer customer rates.
Okay, thank you very much. The hearing is now open. Madam Secretary, is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to comment on this item?
President Dinstead, I see no requests to speak, and I have not received any written comments.
Okay. Is there any member in our audience who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any callers on the line that doesn't have the ability to raise their hand over Zoom that wishes to comment? Okay, I'm hearing none. Hearing no further comments, we'll go ahead and declare the public hearing closed. The matter is now before the board for discussion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Madam Secretary, if we could go ahead and call for the vote.
Thank you. Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
No.
The motion passes 3-1 with President Dinstead voting no.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on, folks.
Item 7C, this is to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed adoption of Resolution 3181, adopting a report on sewer charges and authorizing sewer charges be collected on the county tax roll. President Denson, I'll turn it back to you to open the public hearing.
Thank you very much. Okay. This is the time and place for the public hearing regarding the collection of sewer service charges and any prior year unassessed sewer charges on the tax roll for fiscal year 21 and 22.
The collection of sewer service charges on the tax roll for fiscal year 21-22 applies to all parcels of real property to which Western provides sewer service, but not water service. Notice of the hearing for proposed collection of such charges on the county tax rolls has been properly given. I have proof of publication, which shows that the notice was published in the Press Enterprise, a newspaper of general circulation in Riverside County, on June 16th and June 23rd of 2021.
The documents are ordered, received, and filed.
Well, placing sewer charges on the tax roll will allow for the collection of $1,210,542. This dollar amount is derived from 1,939 sewer accounts. The sewer charge is $51.91 per equivalent dwelling unit, or EDU, per month for 12 months. This monthly rate was previously adopted by the board after conducting a rate hearing in compliance with Proposition 218. The total fiscal year amount per equivalent dwelling unit is $622.92 for applicable customers in the home gardens and nearby area. Some of these accounts require additional maintenance on pipelines serving their area per agreement with the original housing developer. These accounts incur an additional $5 per month charge for lateral cleaning and inspection.
The hearing is now open. Madam Secretary, have you received any written comments on this item?
I have not.
Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to comment on this item?
I see no request to speak at this time.
Is there any member in our audience who wishes to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none. Are there any callers on the line who wishes to comment on this item? Gosh, we got to go through this on too many platforms. Okay, hearing no callers on the line who wish to comment. Being no further comments, I declare the public hearing closed. This matter is now before the board for discussion. Anybody wishing to make any comments on the board?
Madam President, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second. Madam Secretary, if we could go ahead and call the roll, please.
Thank you. Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 7D.
All right, item 7D is to consider the adoption of resolutions 3172, 3173, and 3174, approving the fiscal year 21-22 budgets and levy of special taxes for Community Facilities District Number 88-1, Improvement Area Number 2 of Community Facilities District Number 88-1, and Community Facilities District Number 99-1. Anna Brianas is here again to give us an update on this item.
Okay.
Hang on, Anna, I think we've got an activity to happen first before staff presents.
Absolutely. Now that we have
I'm
declared.
catching on to the program.
Absolutely. Now that we've declared what the item is, so that Mr. Ferre can opine over this and my ability to be able to participate on this, since I actually do reside in 99-1.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. On these items, there is no conflict of interest for you to vote on the items. This is not to adopt, increase, or change any fees and taxes that are not already in place, nor would they be impacted to you differently. I would also advise that on item A today, the board did adopt the refinancing in regard to these particular CFDs, including a number of documents that contractually obligated Western to continue to collect the fees required to pay what is owed on those both CFDs. So from a legal point of view, I recommend approval, as well as there is no conflict of interest.
Thank you very much. Okay, now Anna.
Thank you. As Craig introduced this item recommends the adoption of resolutions that approve the fiscal year 2022 budgets for each of the 3 Murrieta Community Facilities Districts. The CFDs, as I've mentioned earlier, are separate legal entities from Western, and therefore they require their own adopted budget. The resolutions also approve the levy of special taxes for CFD 88-1 and CFD 99-1 on the county tax rolls to collect the revenue required in those budgets. For Improvement Area 2, funds from the reserve funds and other available funds are sufficient to pay for the final debt service scheduled for October 2021, and therefore there is no levy for Improvement Area number 2. The request for adoption of budgets and levy comes before the board each year. The special taxes allow for the collection of revenue needed to pay the debt service that is due in the coming year on the outstanding bonds, as well as pay for related administrative expenses. The fiscal year 2021-2022 budget and levy reflect the estimated debt service savings as a result of refinancing the outstanding bonds that is currently underway, and as Mr. Jeffrey mentioned, that was just approved by the board. For CFD 88-1, the total budget and levy amount is $132,766, a 27.5% decrease from the prior year levy. For CFD 99-1, the budget and levy is $153,262, a 21.8% decrease from prior years. For Improvement Area number 2, the total budget is $20,365 to cover final administrative costs with no levy this fiscal year. So this concludes my remarks, and again, it's to approve the 3 resolutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Madam Secretary, is there anyone who wishes to comment on this item?
President Dinstead, I see no request to speak at this time.
Okay. Is there any member of our audience who wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none. We have any callers that are calling in today that would like to speak on this item? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. Any board members who wish to comment on this item?
Madam President, I'll move approval.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Take your pick, Madam Secretary.
Aye.
It was a tie.
Director Torres.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead, if there's no further comments, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 7E.
All right, item 7E is something that came up at the last board meeting. Director Gardner requested that the board president appoint an ad hoc to review Western's district code, and that is contemplated several times within our code that it should be periodically reviewed. So with that, I will open it up to discussion for the board and then hopefully some direction for staff.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam
Mr.
President,
Miller.
if I may, let me just clarify a possible confusion from the language in the agenda. My intent is that you as president should appoint a committee, an ad hoc committee that would review our water code as it exists one time now, make recommendations, if any, to the board for updates, changes, additions, deletions, whatever is appropriate in the mind of the committee. And then once the board takes whatever action it may take following that, the committee would dissolve. I think it would be wise for the board to create an ad hoc committee every so many years, 5, 10, whatever the right number is. But I do not see this committee continuing beyond a single review, because then it becomes a standing committee, at least in my mind. Right. And that is not my intent. I don't want to create a standing committee. I would like to see an ad hoc committee.
I would just want to say, while I agree with you, we did just have a review not too long ago. That's when we added the censuring policy. We changed a few other things in there. I'm just saying, we literally just had a review maybe 2 years ago, right when Mr. Tom Evans retired, right after that. So I'm just saying, while I agree with you, I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if I may, there is portions of the district's Western code that deals with the ethics statement, and there's other portions too that deal with other things that go on at the district. So those may not have been reviewed. I don't think those were reviewed in the last.
From what I remember, wasn't it somebody had proposed that we get paid more? Was that like two separate? I thought those were two separate things. I thought we reviewed the whole thing.
No.
Yeah, that's another different part too.
Oh, so we just picked and chose.
Right.
Okay, chose.
So this is
okay.
hence the need for the ad hoc.
That's
just
really
to go
interesting.
through it once. Yeah.
Okay, so it was self-serving. Okay. Well, I think it's a great idea, Director Gardner.
And just a point of clarity to Director Gardner for this, you aren't proposing, because I think you just said water code, but you're not proposing the actual water code. You're proposing our administrative code.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I would point it, yeah.
Oh, let's go for it.
Yeah, right?
Water
No, I just want to make sure we're making that point of clarity. It's for our internal administrative resolutions, codes, ordinances, whatever we've gone through to make sure that those are clean and updated. So, and to Director Torres's point, yes, we did in fact do the ethics code as a point of order. The compensation policy, that is in the water code for an annual review by any board as a standing water code requirement that we have the option to do as an annual basis. And we did not do an entire review. In fact, I can't even remember the last time that we did an entire review was probably when the three of us were first elected all the way back in 2006 to do that, so that we were familiar with what those codes were back in 2006. So it's probably been quite some time since we've done the actual administrative code for anything that's laying on our books that is outdated, for lack of a better term.
No, that sounds, like I said, I thought that's what happened, so.
Okay, Director Risby, any comments?
No, I think I agree. And this came up because we had an issue last meeting, and I think this is a good time, right time for us to do this, so.
I do have a question. Are we voting today on just the establishment of the ad hoc or on the actual appointments?
The establishment. I thought it was the establishment.
To establish the ad hoc and its membership.
Oh, okay, so yes,
Yeah.
the nominee, or the appointments. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. So it sounds like we have an agreement on this for a look to do this as just an ad hoc committee, and that it will be, once it's concluded with its recommendations, then that committee will cease to exist. And I'm going to suggest that since it was Mr. Gardner's suggestion that he be one of the members of that ad hoc committee, if there is another member of the board who wishes to partake in that.
I'll sit on it.
Okay. So we have a volunteer. Director Risby, any comments on that?
I'm good with it. Do we know how many people are?
Can only have two.
So then
Right.
go ahead. I'm good.
But there's no action unless it comes to the board. If anything that needs to be done would have to be
Right.
done by the board.
Yeah, it's an ad hoc.
Right.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
We're just
Okay.
a recommending body.
Okay. Are you good with just direction on that, Mr. Frey, or are you wanting an actual
No, we would
vote?
request a motion and a vote.
So
Okay.
I'll make the motion. Hopefully I got exactly what you were asking for. Motion to approve ad hoc committee to one-time review our administrative code, and having the pleasure to serve with my colleague, Mr. Gardner, and myself. Yes.
Okay. That's the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, could you call the roll call vote, please?
Before I call roll call, are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Director Risby,
Yes.
Director Gardner,
Yes.
Director Torres,
Yes.
President Dinstead.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 7F.
This is an administrative process, much like we had to do for the metropolitan appointment, but SAPA requires a resolution appointing the SAPA representation from Western, and since we changed that, we need a new resolution. So this would be consideration of adopting Resolution 3185 for the appointing of board representatives for the Santa Ana Watershed Project Authority. So I'll turn it over to the board for discussion.
Okay. Any members of the public who wish to comment on this?
I see no requests at this time.
Okay. Any members in our audience wishing to comment? Seeing none. Okay, I'm back up to board member comments. Anyone wishing to comment or make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, looking for a second. I'll go ahead and second it. Okay, any further discussion? Madam Secretary, can we go ahead and call for the vote?
Yes, thank you. Director Risby,
Yes.
Director Gardner,
Yes.
Director Torres,
Yes.
President Dinstead.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 7G.
All right, item 7G is to consider the award of a construction contract. Derek Kwai is here and will give us the background on this item. Derek?
Thank you. Good morning, directors.
Good morning.
This item is a project to replace a cast iron pipeline within the Green Acres Residential District east of March Air Reserve Base. The work will occur along Gilley Street, Adams Avenue, and Decay Avenue. These pipelines have experienced frequent failures that have caused flooding in this historic residential area. This is part of our pipeline replacement program. Staff advertised the construction of this project for public bidding and received 12 bids. Some of the bids had addition errors, and after staff calculated the bid amounts correctly, the low bidder was found to be Fiera Construction of Rancho Cucamonga, with a bid of $2,211,718. As comparison, the engineer's estimate was $2,453,000. Because of this addition error, it appeared that the bid of Desert Concepts Construction was the low bidder, with a bid of $1,381,770. The board will have to make a finding that the bid of Desert Concept Construction was non-responsive due to this error. In addition, staff is requesting the board to award a professional services agreement for construction management to Dudek of Encinitas. Staff solicited proposals on planet bids and received 9. Staff reviewed each proposal and ranked the proposals submitted and found Dudek to have the highest qualified proposal. Staff negotiated the cost of this contract to be $191,500. In addition, staff is requesting that the board amend the existing design contract with Dudek for engineering services during construction by increasing it by $45,130 for a total contract for their design services and engineering services during construction of $366,913. Overall, staff is requesting the board approve a budget of $3,600,000 for this project. We have on the video conference today George Litzingner, he's representing Dudek, and Jim Black representing Fiera Construction. I now open this up to any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, are there, let's go through this first. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Madam Secretary, any one on the Zoom call?
I see Erica Villalobos.
Okay.
Yes, I just had a question of whether or not the board can affirmatively state whether or not they have any ties to any of these contractors that you guys are considering awarding these contracts to.
I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry. Hold on. We're going to try to see if we can increase the volume, or if you could speak up a little bit, because we couldn't hear what you actually said.
Yes, I just wanted to know if the board can affirmatively state whether or not they have any connections or donations or anything that would appear improper to the contractors that are that have put in their bids that you are considering awarding these contracts to.
I could speak briefly to that. The bid documents and the contract documents all represent a warrant that there is no such connection in order to even submit the bid. So that's a good question, and it was raised back at the time that any bidder either submitted their bid or at the time the staff reviewed the bid and at the time that the board is considering the award.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Madam Secretary, is there anyone else who wishes to comment on this item?
I see no other requests to speak at this time.
Okay. Do we have the awardees that wish to comment? Or the possible awardees, let's put it that way.
We have on the line Jim Black representing Fiera Construction.
Okay.
I would, good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank everybody. We do look forward to work on this project. It's an exciting project for the company, and I think we'll, we don't see a lot of issues with it, and we're pretty happy to proceed with it.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there any questions or comments from the board at this time?
I have a quick question of Mr. Kawai. I'm sorry I don't have the full title, but the Desert Construction folks who we think had an error in their math in their bid, do they dispute that? Have they disputed that?
I'm unaware of any dispute regarding that. And we did, essentially, they've acknowledged the fact that there was an error.
Okay. Given that, I would move then approval of the contracts as proposed by staff.
Okay. Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve in a second. I do have one final question for the contractor, if he's still on the line. Sir, I just want to make sure you didn't have any problems with any of the bid documents. Is that correct?
No, we did not.
And you saw no problems, issues, or anything that could potentially lead to any change orders, because I'm your no change order girl.
No, we did not see anything.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and thank you for attending our meeting today. Madam Secretary, can we go ahead and call for the vote?
Thank you. Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Yes.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to all of the awardees for that. We look forward to the project, and we look forward to it being on time and on budget.
Thank you, directors.
Okay. Hey, I'll shoot for under budget if we want to do that. I'll take that all day long. Okay. All right, moving on to reports. Staff reports. General Counsel, Mr. Foray.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I don't have anything really to report today. We're all waiting for a couple things. One is September 30th, at which point the Brown Act waivers, as well as the water moratorium on turnoffs, both expire. We do anticipate legislation on both of those issues prior to that. We also anticipate funding being received prior to that. So as those things move forward, I or your staff will keep you informed.
Thank you very much. Moving on to General Manager reports. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. I have a couple of different reports today. Our regular coronavirus update, still no employees have been reported positive as of July 1st, which is great news, keeping our employees safe. I normally report out on our past due balances. They have increased a little bit to about $697,000, but still hovering for quite some time around that between $600,000 and $700,000. Put that in context, our highest past due number of customers was 1,109. We're below that at 964, so that has dropped. As you can see from the room, we're abiding by OSHA guidelines. We've been able to take down some of the plastic. Our employees are all back in the office this week, so we're back to normal operations. We've always had our operations crew in full service here, but now the administrative team is back with a few exceptions of people that are struggling with childcare because of the pandemic, and so we've accommodated those employees who needed some additional assistance in their schedule.
That's wonderful to hear.
As far as customer financial assistance, we've been marketing several programs, the CAP program, the Emergency Renters Assistance Program, and the United Lift program. We've had very minimal participation through those programs, but we have had a little bit of funding, so that's good. We've certainly tried to get more customers involved in that. Of course, the big one that's coming is in the governor's budget. The $1 billion is still in there, so we're tracking that very carefully. Michael Hadley and myself and Sarah are tracking that on a weekly basis. That was initiated by CMUA. I will be on the Board of Governors meeting next week at CMUA. I'm also on their executive committee. CMUA has done an outstanding job of pushing that into the budget, and now all the work is how does the money get passed out. And so a big effort on a trailer bill that's going to document how that money is getting distributed back to water districts. Right now it's looking like it'll be through the state board, but we'll wait till we see something in writing. But that's great news for our customers that are struggling through the pandemic. We just want to get the cash and get us back to normal and get our customers back on their feet so they can get back to contributing to our regional economy. I also reported on bleach shortages. So this is a big issue in the wastewater, not as much in the water side, but of course it hits everyone, but it's been headline news in the wastewater side. Great news, right now we've got 19 days of bleach at WRF and 15 days at RCRA. We've never reported anything like this before to the board, but we never thought we'd have to. And all of a sudden we have trouble getting deliveries. But those two numbers are basically, that means our system is full, basically full, and we have more deliveries coming this week. There's a limited shelf life of chlorine when it comes to us, so you can't really have much more than that. It expires, and so it's kind of one of those things you have to get deliveries every single week. So this is great news that we've been able to secure those deliveries. We'll keep our fingers crossed that they continue. We have heard that the manufacturing system, the plant up in Washington, is back up and running again. It's going to take them probably a month or two to catch back up. But this is all good news. We hope we've weathered the storm, but we haven't uncrossed our fingers yet. So with that is all I have in my updates. I wanted, under 2B, I wanted to give a little update on the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Public Utilities Learning Lab. This is the STEM Poll program. So Rob Whipple is on Zoom today to give us a real brief update on this program, and we are trying to train our future water district employees as they go through their educational program. So, Rob? Uh-oh.
I didn't see him on there, but I'd be happy to give the update if necessary.
He is on.
He's on. Rob?
Rob, you'll need to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, good morning, and I'm pleased to announce our Western's participation in the STEM poll program. This is a partnership with Riverside Public Utilities and Bournes Engineering, and it's a week-long series of presentations and tours and projects, all related to science, technology, engineering, and math. And this particular week is focused on public utilities and learning about those. So the students will get learn about the electrical grid in Riverside, learn about a day in the life of a lineman, and then they get tours of North Treatment Plant, and then they also get a wastewater treatment tour that I'll talk about in just a second. So Western's participating specifically in a couple things on the wastewater side. Tony Pollock is going to do a quick tour of RCRA, and that'll be using our Dirty Jobs video, which you may have seen on the ComGov presentation a while ago. So he'll talk about the wastewater side. And then Director Gardner is going to participate on a panel with board members and directors. And then we facilitated Toro doing a presentation on drip irrigation and how those are manufactured, how the drip tubing and things like that are manufactured. And then also we have Eagle Aerial, who will use GIS to show how aerial imagery is used in some day-to-day applications, real-world applications, I should say. Students will also get a virtual tour of Seven Oaks Dam, the Riverside Energy Resource Center. They'll learn about crisis communications from another water district, as well as work on a variety of STEM-related projects. So we're pleased to be participating this year in the STEM poll project.
You might get a question. All right, thank you, Rob.
I would love to.
It's a great program. I've participated in it before. The kids really enjoy it. It's really fun.
That's awesome. I'd love more information to pop in and whenever, if I can.
All right.
To check it out. That's
happy
really
to provide
cute.
that to the board. Sure.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. That
concludes my comments.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Rob, for giving us that presentation on STEM. That's a great program. Okay, we're moving on to director's reports and requests. SAPA, there was no meeting. It was canceled. For MET, that meeting is next week. A report from Chino Basin, Watermaster.
Okay, at their regular meeting on June 24th, they took care of a bunch of kind of normal business items. I think the significant thing that occurred there is they renewed the contract with their general manager, which in my view is a good thing. But probably the most significant thing for Watermaster is that on June 25th of this year, the court ordered an increase in managed storage in the basin from the current cap of 500,000 acre feet up to a maximum of 700,000 acre feet up until June 30th of 2030. So 9 years, they'll get to keep an extra 200,000 acre feet in storage in the basin. And then that number drops to 620,000 acre feet until June 30th, 2035. That potentially could be changed in the future, but it's good for the region and all of the water entities within the region to be able to store more water in that basin. A reason to not store even more is the potential that it could start to carry some contaminants into the Santa Ana River down in the Prado Basin area, and that's why there is a limit. But work was done to demonstrate that up to 700,000 acre feet would not have negative impacts. So good thing for everyone. A lot of people worked hard to create the partnership to make that happen. So, good news for us all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. CDA.
Usually the meeting is after this first one, so it just hit me like, no, I did have that last week. So thank you. We voted on a construction contract for the Chino desalter and a treatment facility of, which was the item? We abstained, sorry, I don't remember which item we abstained.
Western abstained on an item for a contract with a contractor who is doing some work for Western, and there have been significant delays in completing that project. We're hoping to work that all out, but the thinking was that we would be better to abstain on awarding another contract to that contractor at this point in time.
Yeah, although the item did pass, we didn't get a chance to kind of explain why Western was abstaining, but there's that. There's, again, the Archibald Plume project, amended Webb's agreement, and address the shortest contingency plan of 2020 for the desalter. Thank you, Director.
Okay. Thank you. RICRA.
So we had a meeting. We had a meeting on June 30th. We had a election of officers. Catherine Ellman from Norco will be the chairperson for the next year. I myself will be serving as a vice chair, and Steve Corona and Tom Moody will be our general secretary. And we had a closed session. We approved the solicitation of legal counsel, as Steve Vasiaki has retired. So we approved that, and there's another existing litigation going on, Lyles versus RICRA. So there's some movement in there, so we approved for that.
Okay, thank you. And the loss of Mr. Wysocki retiring is a big one.
It's
so
a big one for RICRA.
That's going to affect a number of different organizations, and his legal expertise in that area and forming JPAs is going to be a big loss for the industry. So we certainly wish Mr. Wysocki well. So.
Thank you.
WRCOG, their meeting is next week. And SARA, we've not had.
We did not have any.
Okay, no meeting. Okay, moving on to director's comments. I'll go ahead and start with Director Rizvi. Any comments today?
No, thank you.
Okay. Director Torres, any comments today?
Yes, I did have a comment. Sorry, I have to pull up my. Go ahead, Director Gardner. I did have something I was emailed and wanted to pull up, so.
Okay. Director Gardner, any comments today?
Okay. I guess I have maybe more of a request, but not necessarily for an agenda item. If I understood Mr. Evans' comments correctly today, he indicated that there is some information that has been, I think his term was, that is on the district server regarding pay for a director possibly being paid twice for the same hour. And that is information that I would like to understand better. So my request is that that information be provided to the board as a whole.
I just want to make it clear, I haven't received anything from Mr. Evans. So I don't know if it was lost or I literally haven't received anything. I'm not looking for that now, but that I haven't seen anything.
I did not receive the email for you, Director Torres, so he may have sent that to you directly.
Yeah, not on my end.
Okay.
Sorry. but
No, not at all. So would that mean that
seen
it's
it, no.
not on the district server?
I did not receive an email through the district server. I can have our IT department scan the server to make sure that it's not sitting in a spam filter or, in Cyberland. But I did not receive it through the board secretary or the online portal.
Okay. Mr. Ferre, I don't want to overstep or put us in a position of doing something that we ought not do. But I think Director Torres certainly deserves to know what's out there. And if it is, as I understood Mr. Evans to describe it, I think it's something that the board as a whole should be in a position to evaluate. I don't know how best to request that. I'm not requesting any action to be taken on it because honestly, none of us really know what it is at this point. Can you guide a bit?
Yeah, I think what the Board Clerk said is completely accurate, that she can check and see what, if anything, has been submitted to the district, and she will forward it to all board members. It's all public information.
Okay. Yeah, if we could do that, please, and then if it never got here for whatever reason.
The Board Clerk can certainly reach out if there was some miscommunication or some loss in the spam or something with Mr. Evans.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I will make sure that happens today.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, were you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Director Torres.
Okay, so we had our joint committee meeting with Riverside and RPU a week ago, where I requested that there be, so I get a lot of complaints, especially in the Orange Crest area, about runoff, which, if we know anything about MPDS, is prohibited if it's not rain. So, but it seems to be significant. And the response I received from staff was that we already have an ordinance in place. So I would like to request, whether it be in a presentation or I would like to understand what ordinances we have in place and what the city has in place in order to prohibit non-stormwater runoff or pipe leaks or what we have in place. Because if there is something in place, then that way I can forward all the complaints that I tend to get about specifically Orange Crest.
Sure.
So.
My recollection from that discussion was that it involved a school property, I believe.
That it didn't, or it did?
No, I think it did involve a school property.
Maybe we find out what policies we have with the school districts, or.
Well, we have. I can do a presentation on our ordinances. We've got numerous ordinances that prohibit runoff and waste of water.
Is there any way to?
There's no particular one with any one customer.
No. Can we request something, maybe to have the city present and the school district present at a later time? I just want to understand them because, this is my world, but, we get several complaints, and aside from going directly to the regional board with a complaint, I think it's best that we address it locally rather than being hit with MPDS fines, right?
Well, it's probably appropriate for us to get our presentation first, and so we know what our ordinance is, and then try to figure out what action we need to take from that point forward in accordance with what we have on the books, or if changes need to be made or something, and then move from there. So because we can't dictate what other agencies are going to do for us to do presentations, but we certainly can have staff present what our ordinance is. And then if we need to take action, we can do that.
No, what my request is that we follow through and say, hey, do you mind coming over and letting us know what you're doing?
And it may be it may just be a presentation to figure out what the ordinance is, and then allow staff to have like an open dialogue to say you may not be aware of this type of thing. So
sounds good to me.
As some of our partners, because we've had a number of partnerships with those entities to be able to do grant funding and a variety of different things too. So.
All right, so just to double check, to be clear, we're just going to do a presentation back to the engineering committee on our ordinances and what they're saying.
I think that's the appropriate committee to see that policy in for the runoff stuff.
To make it, make it a little more transparent, a board meeting would be appropriate too, so that the public, who is the one contacting me, can also see We don't record, right? We don't
well,
record engineering?
Yeah, generally, Director Torres, we see stuff at committee meeting first, and then we move things forward to the board after we've seen it, because we have an opportunity to either, one, make changes if we need to, or ask questions of staff so that they can prepare and do a presentation.
edit?
So it always comes to committee first.
Yeah. We don't go live in committee meetings, right?
No.
Okay.
It's a public meeting.
I know
Anyone can show up,
I know
anyone
it
can
is.
comment, and we produce minutes.
And we produce minutes.
I know, but
But if I may, we commonly have presentations as the very first item on the agenda. If that's the sort of thing that Director Torres is
That's all
asking
I'm
for, I
requesting.
think that's fine, and we certainly have asked other public agencies to attend. We don't mandate it. So maybe if that's what Director Torres is asking for, is one of those presentations at the top of the agenda.
that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking to make any votes or change anything, just kind of want to understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, now I'm confused again. So we said we'll do it to an engineering committee. Now we're saying we're going to have presentations also. I need to know who to invite or what we're doing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Okay.
I think we follow through with our standard procedure of sending it to committee first and allowing the presentation to have, we ask questions, and then we bring in forward what the results are of that presentation committees if we need to do that. So I think we just kind of follow with our status quo of getting the information at an engineering committee meeting, which is where it would be appropriate, so that everybody can get informed exactly what it is that we need to do, and then move forward from there.
And the committee can direct us to schedule a
Yes.
presentation at that point.
Yes.
Yes.
In the interim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
All right. I just want, because that's just my nature. That's when we have just regular old presentations, they don't always go to committee. So I just want to be very clear that this is not standard protocol. I'm fine if it becomes standard protocol, but I don't like things to be muddled. So I'm just asking for a simple presentation, nothing more. No, I don't want to change policy. I just want to, that was all I'm asking for. So, and then, as legal counsel mentioned, we've asked other agencies such as SAPA to come through and also present on any programs, and that's the same thing I'm asking for the city and/or school board if it's a school board problem. Yeah, that's all I requested. Nothing more.
I was just going to mention that I don't know if our staff knows who the customer was, or even for sure if it is a Western customer as opposed to an RPU customer. But if we could identify who that customer is, and if they're wasting water, we should reach out to them and point that out to them. It's possible they have an irrigation problem that their maintenance staff is unaware of.
That's typically
we want
the
to stop
process.
that quickly.
Yeah, that's typically the process when it comes to non-stormwater runoff,
But
right? You identify where it's draining from, coming through, and but apparently it's just a continuous problem. And this apparently is not the first time a director sitting in Division 2 has heard of it. So, I've just recently.
I'm not sure which property it is and whose customer it is. But
Well, if Director Torres is the one that got the communication, perhaps she could just forward it to you guys so you can identify via the address who that customer belongs to. So, because you said somebody communicated with you what the problem was and where, so perhaps that would be the quickest way to do that, is to just forward the communication off to staff so that they can identify who it is.
But I mean, just to keep it simple, perhaps at the next meeting.
I'm trying.
Under staff reports, like we normally have under 2, today we have one on STEM, you could just have one on our current policies.
There you go. And if possible.
Just leave it at that, and then if necessary in the future, invite other
we
people.
can bring other people. I agree. I was trying to keep it simple. I'm sorry. Okay. That was.
Now I think I got different direction.
Okay.
So what's the direction from the board? Are we going to the engineering committee for a presentation?
No,
Well, certainly.
you're not. You're going to bring
we're
it
not.
during.
Is that what the whole board is saying?
Sure, if it's a plain presentation. you just have it.
I personally don't, it doesn't bother me where we do it. I just want to make sure I'm meeting the board's objective.
If during your comments, General Manager, next board meeting, or if I know next board meeting is going to be heavy, would you please go over a presentation of our ordinances? I would appreciate it. That's all I'm asking.
I think that makes sense. It avoids doing 2 presentations, and it should be pretty straightforward, I think.
I think so.
Okay. That still leaves us with, we're going to forward the comments.
Oh,
so that they can go ahead and deal with the issue, because it may be a while, like you said, then our next agenda is going to be lengthy.
No,
So-
absolutely. I always send Craig what I get.
Wanna
Okay.
Make sure we're going to the right place, that's it.
All right.
Happy to do it either place.
Moving along to, I think we've already hit this, future requests for agenda items. Informational items are for your information, folks, to peruse at your leisure. We're going to go ahead into the closed session. Any comments on closed session at this point as we move into that, Mr. Ferre?
No, Madam President, we do recommend both closed sessions in order today, A and B.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and do closed session here in, what, 7 minutes or so? Can we do that? It'll take us about that time to get transfer over? Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Ferre?
Oh.
I'm just looking for his colleague on Zoom. I don't quite see him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The booming voice in the room.
It's just me today. Thank you, though. It's just me today. Thank you for checking, though. I appreciate it.
No worries.
All members should go into, that are not included in the closed session, should go into the Zoom waiting room.
Okay. We can leave the Zoom meeting.
Okay, everybody, we're back in open session. We're going to go ahead, for the benefit of the public, to go ahead and do roll call for the board members as we are coming out of closed session back into open session. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Director Rizvi.
Yes.
Director Gardner.
Yes.
Director Torres.
Yes.
President Dinstead.
And I am here. Okay, folks.
Have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and make an announcements out of closed session. We have legal counsel present here for 10B to make an announcement out of closed session.
No reportable action for that item, Madam President.
Thank you very much. And Mr.
Item-
Miller, if we could make an announcement for 10A out of closed session.
Certainly, there is no reportable action on item 10A.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, folks, if we hit all the business today on this agenda, I see no outstanding issues whatsoever. We'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for your attendance today. We certainly appreciate it. Have a great day.